You know those kind of movies that you don't remember coming out in theaters, but you remember seeing more times than you can count on cable? Career Opportunities is a movie like that for me. I saw it so many times on channels like HBO and Cinemax in the early 90s that it became one of those fragments of pop culture that kind of embodies the era it was made in. There's just something about the photography, the music, the wardrobe, and probably the fact that most of this movie takes place in a Target store. Whereas if it were filmed today, it would no doubt be shot in a Walmart. The movie stars Frank Whaley as Jim Dodge.
Mr. James Dodge.
Jim is a young man living in a small town, struggling to find his place in the world, but without much of any success. His dad is constantly on his case to get a job, move out, and make something of himself, but Jim doesn't seem to be in a big hurry to do that, or in a hurry to do pretty much anything. But it's not that Jim is lazy. He's just a dreamer who dreams too big for his small surroundings. And Frank Whaley really does a great job showing us that, giving us a character that is simultaneously kind of a boob, but somehow likable and charming in a moronic, innocent kind of way. After getting fired from his umpteenth job, Jim hits a low point, and his dad, who's now at his wit's end, helps him by setting him up with an interview for a night cleanup boy position at his local Target store, upon which he is interviewed by Sir John Candy. Excuse me, I mean store manager C.D. Marsh. This is a pretty funny bit of mistaken identity here, where the store manager thinks he's interviewing someone else, someone for a high-level job. You see, most people in a situation like that, they would speak up and say, "Excuse me, I think you have me confused with somebody else." But not Jim. He just goes along with it, even going so far as to start negotiating his salary with the guy.
This is our first, best, and last offer. What do you think?
Well, CD, with all due respect, I came in here with the number 45 in my mind, and
It's one of my favorite bits in the whole movie. Partly because we get to see John Candy, even if it's just a cameo. But more so, because it really highlights how Jim operates. He's a bit of a con man, slippery, a little more dumb than daring.
Hey, Jim! Where you going?
Hello, boys. Going to Paris on an F-14. Got a little peace meeting with the Vice President of Bulgaria. Business, you know? Then I'm going to Venice for a big spaghetti dinner with the Princess of Austria. Beautiful lady, really big bones.
He gets the job as night cleanup boy, and it's at this point that the movie kicks into its most fun parts. You see, Jim is left to clean the store all by himself. When I was a kid watching this movie, I thought this would be so cool. Not the cleaning part, but just imagine a huge store like Target all to yourself for the whole night to do whatever you wanted. Play with all the toys, watch movies on their big screen TVs, eat whatever I want. And that's exactly what Jim ends up doing. And he makes it look so much fun too. He eats all the candy, he plays on the PA, he plays the drums. And I wanted so badly to roller skate in a Target after seeing this movie. As a kid, I could imagine anything better than that. But his night of goofing off kind of gets sidelined. This is when Josie, played by a very fresh-faced Jennifer Connelly, collides with Jim in his night of fun, kinda literally. Under normal circumstances, these two characters would have never interacted with each other, but hey, this is a movie. Of course, Jim is completely smitten with her, I mean, who wouldn't be? And he tries to show off. But as the night goes on, and they talk more, they begin to talk to each other less as cliches and start to relate to each other as actual people, finding some common ground in their angst and that they both feel lost and unsure of themselves. It's the kind of interactions and dialogue that John Hughes did so well with teenage characters in movies like The Breakfast Club. Things get a little sentimental and sweet after that, with the two of them developing some real affections for each other, having some fun, and then making plans to leave town together the next day, with nothing to seemingly stop them, except maybe their overbearing parents, and these two guys. Now, with the introduction of these two characters, this is when the movie kind of goes off the rails a little bit for me and loses some of its charm. Dermot and Kieran Mulroney play these two thieves that have appeared here and there throughout the movie as they make their way to the target. And it's in the third act of the movie when their story and Jim's story kind of collides. Now, nothing against either Mulroney brother here, as they're both really good as these kind of hapless but still kind of threatening criminals. And seeing as they're brothers in real life, the two actors have really good chemistry together. And they still find ways to make the movie funny, but it's just not as fun as it was in the beginning and middle of the movie when it was just a simple, crimeless story of two teenagers looking to find themselves. I wish the movie's screenplay could have been given another pass, and instead of running into these two criminals, instead maybe Jim and Josie have to confront their parents and find some kind of harmony there. Now granted, that might lack the fast-paced tension of their Hollywood-esque ending with a chase and gunshots and everything, but I think it would really be more fulfilling to their characters, and more fulfilling for us as well. But hey, we still get a happy ending, with Jim and Josie escaping to Hollywood beating the bad guys, where Jim imagines the Hollywood sign with his name in front of it. That's another little great bit of Jim's character that gives him his kind of trademark dorky charm. So that's career opportunities in a nutshell. Now, despite what I feel to be a wrong turn in the third act, the movie is still a lot of fun and holds up pretty well as a coming-of-age story. Now, like I said before, the movie was written by John Hughes, but he didn't direct it. That honor went to Bryan Gordon because Hughes liked Gordon's short film. But Hughes didn't have the kind of creative control on this movie that he did with others, which became a point of contention for him that made him want to remove his name from the movie altogether. In fact, Hughes ended up calling the final movie cheap and vulgar, which I think is a little harsh. Sure, there is some crudeness to the movie when it comes to how the Jennifer Connelly character is sexualized, but outside of that, the movie is pretty clean. Many years later, the AV Club did an interview with Frank Whaley, and they talked about career opportunities. Here's what he said. The movie kind of tanked. I think if they made that movie today, it would be kind of cool, but it just lacked a little bit of the reverence of other movies written by John Hughes. The soundtrack was certainly classic John Hughes fare. I mean, I happen to think it's a kind of cool movie. I think it's different than his other movies, and I think that casting me was kind of a daring move. But I didn't sort of fit into that mold. I played it a little bit different. I was just slightly off. And I think that might have been a part of the demise of the whole thing. Both he and Connelly seem to agree on what was the mismarketing of this movie, in which it was done as some kind of teenage sex comedy, which it definitely isn't. The movie ended up coming out in late March of 1991 and then quickly disappeared from theaters, only making about $11 million, which is sad. But this is one of the first movies I got to see Frank Whaley in. The very first one was probably Field of Dreams, which he was also really good in, but it was with career opportunities that made me a fan of Frank Whaley as a great, underrated character actor. And from there on out, whenever I saw him pop up in a movie, I'd get curious and want to check it out. Swimming with Sharks being one of those movies. But hey, that's a video for another time. Career Opportunities is available on DVD, so you can check it out on disc. It's also streaming on Amazon, and I'd recommend that version over the DVD because the DVD is not mastered very well. The movie is light, harmless fun with a catchy Hughesian soundtrack. Hey, I just made up a word, Hughesian. Only running about 82 minutes, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. So check it out, I think you'll have a good time. Until next time, I'm Adam Lee with The Real Life. I'll catch you later.
It's just a feeling, but it keeps coming back. It's a tiny